Okay, guys, Netflix is plummeting after hours. It is down 23%, and we're only 15 minutes after hours. They reported a loss of 200,000 subscribers last quarter when their own projections had been to gain 2.5 million. That's a 2.7 million user swing. Guys, I cannot repeat this enough. Netflix is claiming part of their issues was Russia and Ukraine, but yet Russia and Ukraine was only 700,000 subscriber loss of that 2.7 million swing. The other thing is this: Netflix here was first to market, but since then, when you see high margin businesses with a lot of people with assets, they're going to create a lot of streaming services. In the last 5 years, how many freaking streaming services have there been? Guys, on my phone alone, I have a folder just for streaming. Hulu, Netflix, YouTube, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Peacock, Showtime Anywhere, Prime Video. Those are the ones that I just subscribe to. They are all over. When there are high margin businesses with a lot of revenue and a lot of growth, a lot of people are going to enter them. Next thing, one of the things that are, if you look at our software here, we pull up Netflix. One of the things that people will say is, stock can't fall, okay? The stock is currently at $270 a share. $270. It hit a high of $700. $700 back in October. Back in October, it was $700. That is a fall of 60%. That is a 60% fall in 7 or 8 months. And if I told you back in October that Netflix would be selling for $260 or $270 6 months from now, what would you said? You said you're crazy. But it happens, guys. And we've been seeing it a lot lately. I don't want to get into the whole Palantir, Workhorse, all that stuff, but go look up those companies from when everybody said they're going to be booming. Remember, guys, there will be headwinds to companies at some point. And when those headwinds happen, they are ferocious. Here's the interesting part. Analysts polled by FactSet had expected Netflix to make $2.90 a share. They beat. They made $3.53 a share. They made over the estimates from the analysts, and they're still down 23% after hours. Why is that? Because the revenue missed. Look at the revenue. Revenue rose 10% to 7.87 from 7.16, but they're expected to do $7.93 billion. Guys, that's a miss of how many percentage points? 3? Not even? But that's what happens. That's when you don't buy with margin of safety, you get killed. Now, for those of you who think that Netflix is worth, let's say you did a value estimate, and we'll get into that shortly, about what we think Netflix is worth. Let's say you had it worth $350. Whatever your price you had it worth, if it was above where it is today, you're a buyer of Netflix. Now, granted, this should be a concern. If you're expected to lose 2 million subscribers in this quarter, you got to factor it in there. So here's a company that was grow, to all of a sudden lose 2 million subscribers. Now, keep in mind, I think they have 220 million subscribers or something crazy like that. So it's still only 1% loss, but it's not the growth machine it used to be. And the hype growth eventually stops. Let's go take a look at the company from an 8-pillar perspective. So here are the 8 pillars right here. So right now we have a really expensive company. Now keep in mind, this is down 20-some%. So it's probably around 55 right now or 54. They don't even have a price of free cash for the last 5 years because in the last 5 years, they haven't had total free cash flow. They've had negative free cash flow in the last 5 years. Shares outstanding increasing, no free cash flow. So there'll be no debt here. They have cash flow growth, they have revenue growth, they have net income growth. There are positives here, but guys, look at these free cash flow numbers. They're not there. They're investing back in the business, which I can get. But at some point, when you're paying for hype, the rooster's got to go home to nest at some point. And where is that here? So I just look at this and people got excited by this. Here's the income statement. 3.6, 4.4. I mean, down the line, growth every single year. $30 billion last year. Whenever this first quarter is going to be, it'll be reported in our software here. Once we get the data from the company, once we get the data from our provider, it'll be in here. And it's still going to be growth because they raised a lot of prices. When I saw the price raise on mine, that's what I did. I said, okay. Because I just like going to Netflix. I don't have cable. I just go to Netflix and just said, okay, and I'm great. But guys, I want to stress over and over. Eventually, the hype train stops. Eventually, the massive growth stops. And you don't want to be the person being the only person looking for a chair when this happens. Because guess what? After hours, when it's down 23%, how do you sell? How are you selling after hours? The volume's not going to be there. It's going to be a tough situation for a lot of people. All right. Now, let's go see what we think Netflix is actually worth. Let's go to our stock analyzer tool. First off, do I think Netflix will be around for the next 10 years? I absolutely do. I think they're the leader in streaming. But there will be some consolidation at some point of streaming services. And I think Netflix will probably start looking at acquiring some. I'm going to say this. AMCX, they're a publicly traded company. What if Netflix went after them for their content? I've said a few things here that end up happening later. Let's see if that happens. So, revenue growth. Guys, they're expected to lose 2 million subscribers this quarter. Let's be conservative and call it 2, 4, and 6% revenue growth. Let's just say they get it from increasing prices, not new users. Profit margin. We're going to go 10, 12, 14. Free cash flow margin. I'm going to do 6, 8, and 10. PE. Guys, got to be conservative. It's starting to fall. But they still have good data of software, good library of software. And of course, guys, 12.5% return. Get your margin of safety in there. Hit the analyze button. So on the high side, I still have it worth 110 to 150. Low side, 40 to 70. You might sit there and say, that's crazy, Paul. You know, this is crazy. Saying from 700, it might fall to 260 in a matter of months. And it did. Guys, be patient. Every investment is the present value of all future cash flow. At some point, they factor that in there. Netflix has got to start making the big bucks and start getting there and saying, okay, we're going to pay our investors back somehow. They haven't increased their shares a ton in the last 5 years, only 3%. But this is what we talk about all the time about process. If this makes sense to you, keep watching our videos. Because we look at buying a stock as buying a piece of a business, correct? We have the software geared towards looking at companies, looking at stocks as companies, as operating businesses. How do you buy them the right way so that you get an ample return on your money with a preservation of capital? If you'd ask, I don't even know if we have a Netflix video back in the day, but I'm quite sure my numbers were drastically low. Actually, probably higher than they are today because the revenue growth numbers have plummeted. They're talking, I mean, guys, look at that miss. They said that they were going to add 2.5 million users in the last quarter. They lost 200,000, and Ukraine and Russia were only 700,000 of that 2.7 million, only one fourth of that swing. So they are losing customers right now. There's so many other products to go to. Peacock, all these ones. There is going to be a consolidation at some point of streaming services. So I just stress, like always, as boring as it may sound, you have to look at buying a stock as buying a piece of a business because that's what you're doing. You're buying a future cash flow stream. And this cash flow stream still exists, but has been hit a little bit. You have to factor it in there. Even a slightly growing cash flow machine is worth something. And that's what your job is. Is it worth 10 trillion? No. Is it worth $1? Absolutely. Somewhere in the middle, it still makes sense, and somewhere it doesn't. Where is that? That's for us to do some more research and figure it out. That's what we're doing in our community. When we're talking here, we sit there, talk about Netflix, and I'm sure people are talking about Netflix right now. I can go in there, type in Netflix, and go directly to the chats they're talking about it. But it is down big. Let's see what it's down right now after hours since I started talking. It was down 23% last time I checked. So let's go to Netflix. It's down 22.3%, so 270. Hey, these things have to happen sometimes. Happen to Facebook, happen to Baba. These things do happen. Your job is be patient, get ready for the right time to buy Netflix, and everybody has given up on Netflix. So thanks very much for watching. Please watch the next video to learn more.